I calculated it. I went through category by category, what I spent, where I shopped, and I came and I compared it, to our income, and it was a stretching of our pre-tax income by 34%. So I basically gave my wife and I both a 34% raise.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 27 of the Son of Man podcast. And today I have the privilege of sharing with you the conversation I had with a guy called Adam Katz. And Adam is a guy from New York who has created this website called Money for Dads. And it's an amazing resource with a whole bunch of free resources for, he's targeting it towards dads, but at the end of the day, personal finance is personal finance. And so I'll leave a link to all his website and all his resources down below. But it's a great conversation around personal finance with a strong emphasis on how to take the money you already have and how you can stretch it further. Now, with all his tips and automation strategies that he has used in his own personal finances, he's taken every dollar he used to make and he's now stretched it to be $1.34. And if that doesn't make sense, he's just stretching his money to last longer with all these little tips and strategies that he uses that we'll be talking about in this episode. So without further ado, here's my podcast episode with Adam Katz. Adam Katz, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am great. It's wonderful being here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good to, I feel like everyone I talk to is kind of from America, but it's good to talk with someone from New York. I think you might be the first, maybe. I think so. Today we're going to be talking.
I'll make you proud. I'll make the city proud. The state proud.
Yeah, well, I've been there once. I remember, and it was definitely an experience. Like, America's a whole different ball game to what I'm used to in New Zealand. And I think the one thing, is this controversial? I don't know. We don't need to talk about the politics behind it. But the one thing that I noticed was in New Zealand, everything's super chilled, everything's super laid back. But I went to a Subway in Manhattan, and it's full on like police with like full on assault rifles and everything just sitting there. I'm like, what the heck? This is different. Is that like a normal thing in America or like in New York at least?
It is. I think the further away you get from New York, the less it gets. Because 9/11 happened here.
Right. I did notice that. Stuff with like, I think we'd usually go to like, people used to go to like the stock exchange, but you can't do that anymore. And a whole bunch of stuff shut down.
Yeah, my office actually used to be right by the stock exchange. Now I work technically in New Jersey, and I live here in New Jersey now, but it's right by there. And my office was right off Wall Street, and so it's fenced off. It's been years, but it's still fenced off. So I don't think it's you can get right in there anymore.
Yeah, and everything's got like metal detectors and everything. We don't even not even close to that sort of security. Like even high schools, right? Schools have metal detectors.
Some high schools, yeah. There's it's all I mean. I went to different schools, so not here in New York City. So and it was before this time, right. So things are different. But yeah, it's not laid back, and then New York City is intense all the time. So
yeah,
you're always rushing and running. It's the life. Just how you go. There's efficiency, productivity, moving quickly, get things done, move on to the next thing.
True.
Nothing's chill here.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Everyone seems to be in a rush, but it's just a different lifestyle. I guess people into that, or I don't know. But I mean, to be honest, I kind of like it. I definitely want to go back, definitely visit again. But today we're going to be talking about personal finance and all things how we can use the money we do have to stretch it further and all that. So I want to begin talking about, obviously, money. Money is important. You can do stuff with money. It's how the world works. But I want to hear from your perspective, why is money important?
So that's a good question. So I actually don't think money is important. I think it's what it gives you. That it can give you the freedom, give you to do what you want, the flexibility. It doesn't buy happiness, but it definitely can help you get there. I mean, if you have money, you can buy health insurance and your medicines. That's going to make it much easier to be happy and live the life you want if you could afford your medicines.
Right.
So you could afford healthier food, you could afford going out here and there, and you could be happy without going out and going to the movies or going to amusement parks. But certain things do make your life easier. And things make your life easier, you could be a bit happier. So being able to stretch the money that you make is key here, because it's not like anyone can just make more money.
Right.
You have two options when you make money. You can either make to improve your situation. You can either make more, or you can stretch what you make. You can save.
Yeah. And I'd assume stretching your money would be easier than making more money.
Yeah, and I think that's the what I do. What my website Money for Dads is about, my business, my book. it's taking the money that you make and stretching it. So, and not so that a person could buy more. You could buy a
Right.
fancier car. You could buy a Ferrari or a Porsche. It's, a bigger house. It's to afford expenses. The people that really need to stretch the money are the people who, a lot of the time have kids, or anybody
Right.
who wants to say you stretch your money so you can save more for the future, retirement, or to be able to buy, to set yourself up for success. So stretching it really is a good way when you do it in a proper way. And so people are busy. I'm busy. You're busy. Dads are incredibly busy. I have 3 kids. I have a full-time job. My wife has a full-time job. I have a couple side hustle businesses. I write a column for a magazine, a life advice. I'm busy, so I don't have time for complicated ways where I save money on this and that. And spend 4 hours to try to save $20. And transfer from this credit card to that credit card, and 20 credit cards where I try to figure out the maximum amount of points that I don't have time for that.
Right.
And so it's a good balance, but everything that I figured out and everything that I do and I advocate for and I teach to people are ways to do it. So it doesn't take much time, because that's the most important thing is time. So money can give you your time back. And that's why and that's what's most important about money. The money itself is not important. It's the time that it gives you, and the ability to get what you want out of that time, and to purchase what you really need to help you be on a better path.
Yeah, and that's super interesting. I think a lot of people want to make money for the sake of money. For example, I think we'll both agree, and we live in a very materialistic culture where the more you have, people think I don't know. Actually, I haven't really thought about it, but I think the thing I'm scared of is buying big, expensive stuff, but then that sort of creates the level of what you need to go to the next time. For example, like if you buy a really nice car, then I don't know, but I assume I would struggle to drive like a cheaper car later on in life, because I've had that experience of an expensive car, and this constant like treadmill of running on, trying to get more and more expensive stuff, and the more it goes, just the less satisfied you get. So I think it's interesting to hear you say that money itself isn't important, but it's the other stuff money can bring. For example, the time with your family, for your partner, for the people you care about, and all the hobbies you care about. I think that's the interesting part about why money actually is, well, money isn't important, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's to decrease the standard of living is really hard.
Right.
You have that, and also it's a reputation thing. Are you going to be that person who used to have a big home and a big car, and now you have a fancy car, and now you don't? If you're able to stomach that, to say, that's not what I want anymore, that's not what is important out of life, then that's great. But most people wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
And what comes along with these things too? You buy a Porsche, your insurance is going to be higher. You're going to worry more about it getting hit. We know people with some fancy cars here. And they park differently. They park away. They pick up extra spots. They, they check their car, see who dinged it. They make sure people are away, and you have to worry about that. If it's like having anything fancy with kids. I don't have anything fancy. I don't have real art in this place. You can't really see the art in the walls. I don't know if you can on the sides of the image, but that's some nice pieces, a little bit here and there. My wife, their wedding presents we got for each other.
Right.
But they're prints that we have because the kids are going to throw balls at it. I had I have a few watches. I don't need to have many watches. I have one for really nice events, for holidays. I have one for work, and I have a casual one. Right. So that's it. I don't need more. And so my son, by just looking at it, ripped it in many pieces. So it's all broken apart. What am I supposed to do? So you just got to expect these things, so what is it? Do I go spend another $100 on that watch? Do I get upset with him when he was a 3-year-old ruining a watch? So what's important there? So I don't need these things,
Right.
I just get by. Actually, one broke, one battery died, one was ripped apart. So I don't have a watch now. My life is exactly the same as it was before.
Yeah, and I guess if you're living like way above your means, it's actually really hard, because you look at it as just a one-off purchase, but all of a sudden all the repairs, all the time that goes into it, all that sort of stuff, like insurance, if you have to it's just expense. Like there's a bigger cost that people probably don't actually realize like first of all, when they purchase something that comes along with owning something. So I think my goal is always to live, maybe not, I wouldn't go as far as saying minimalism, but to definitely live, especially like right now I'm only 21. I live at my parents' house because I've heard it's the same in America, but the housing market at the moment in New Zealand's out the gate. Like stuff,
Yeah.
I've been looking at houses and I see something that sold for say 300,000 2 years ago has doubled to 600,000 in literally 2 years. And I'm like, okay, and all of a sudden, it's not just the one-off price, it's the mortgage payments that, because it's on a mortgage, you have to pay a percentage of interest. The interest payments are like insane that don't
Yeah.
actually go towards the house. It's just to pay out the mortgage.
Yeah.
So I think what was really interesting was what you said is it's actually hard to decrease your standard of living. Everyone wants to increase it, but all of a sudden when something happens, it is not physically hard, but what's the word? You mentioned reputation, and I think it's like a mental thing of actually taking a step backwards financially, or like your standard of living is actually hard, and people think about what other people will think about them. And I know listening to people like Gary Vee, I don't know if you listen to him, real random, but he's always telling people to live way below their means. Live in a small apartment, live on the bare minimum, so then you can use that money. In his case, he'd say use that money on growing a business, but for whatever that would be, if that's growing a relationship or whatever, or even just saving for the future, I think would be a good thing. So yeah, what you said about it's hard to decrease your standard of living once you've already gone up, I think is super important, super key. Probably something I've actually never thought about. So I think that was a great eye opener. Do you have any other thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not up to care what people think. It's different places you live too. Where do you want to live? We've actually bought our home that we're living in now, and we had to decide where we'd move when we left New York City. We were living in Manhattan, and
Wow.
we had to get up. Time to get up. We need a bigger place, more space, grass, a car. You kind of really have a car in Manhattan. It's insane. I had a car in Manhattan actually for 2 hours. So
Really?
I had it delivered. I had it delivered to me. And by the time from when it was delivered to me at 10 in the morning to when we hopped in it to go to our new place in New Jersey at noon, I already got a ticket for $75, a parking ticket. So
75 US is steep as well. That's not cheap.
Yeah, I was like, goodbye, New York. I was like, this is a nice parting gift. So, yeah, I mean that's hard. So you got to choose. So we chose to move to a community here where people are professionals. It's a great community. We love it. We love our neighbors. We love everything. And it's not focused on. There's almost no fancy cars here. People could probably afford them. It's expensive because it's housing prices. It's expensive anyway in these types of communities. But who do we surround ourselves with? Right. So, do we get the cars that we have are the same as everybody else's? Not because I even knew what everybody had, but everyone has the same Honda Odyssey that we do. I bought it. It was actually we leased it. It was a little more expensive, but in terms of quality of life, because it's called the Car Seat King. We have 3 car seats that go in there. They can be moved around. It's easy to put them in. And if you travel with car seats ever, you put them in, you put them out, and the kids. That's intense. And so I wanted to get rid of it. So we pay a little bit more. And then but I see here, this is what everybody has. The line for pickup at school is about all Honda Odysseys. It's crazy. It's like an ad for Honda.
True. You said you had a story about going from a compulsive shopper to being a good saver. Did you want to talk to that and share that story?
Yeah. I mean, I always thought I was great with money. I remember when my parents they got me a credit card. I was 14, and I put money in an envelope, and I stuck it to my wall. I was going to be saved for a car, and so I had that credit card. I always paid it off, and then, years and years and years later, I was justifying my purchases like I always, and I would say this will improve my quality of life, so it's worth it, and that would be about everything. But I didn't realize every single person in my life knew I was a compulsive spender except for me. And so I would look at my Amazon purchases, and I would see, these things. I would say, this improved my quality of life at this level and this level, and it was this much, so it was totally worth it. And then I was living in a building, and there was a rabbi that I knew who would occasionally just bring up my mail. It was, nice, he would just bring it up. I saw it downstairs, and I'd say, you don't have to do that. And so he would bring it up again. And then I said, you really don't have to do that, because also what you just brought me up was a Batman cartoon DVD. I was like 30 years old, but I said, I love it. I love Batman. Yeah. And then he was like, okay. And he didn't bring him up again. And then, because there's packages, like, yeah, you get packages every day. And then he said, one day just, hey, you're a compulsive spender. And I was like, what? And I was like, maybe you're right. And then I thought back, and I realized I was like, did that Batman DVD really change my life? Could I have done something better with that $10? It was two-sided. It was double-sided DVD. And then, so I thought about it, and I spoke to, my grandmother. I realized my whole life had known that. And she once sent me an article that is now life-changing in the basis of my, most of my philosophy on money. But I spoke to my best friend from high school, who was like, yeah, you spent your money on, you wasted all your money. He was like, you spent it on little upgrades for your car and everywhere we went. He was like, yeah, I've known you're a compulsive spender for 20 years. So everybody knew it. And then so it basically took, and I'm still working on it too. But I'm trying to integrate what's a need versus what's a want. And then how do you instill that value in your kids? What do you really need for your life to be happy? So I've worked hard to really not spend. I think in the past month, nothing. I don't think I've spent a penny that we didn't legit need to spend. We have there's not an Amazon box in the garage right now. So we're getting, my wife and I'm getting there. She's good. So integrating that, all these, it's always growth. There's always more ways to stretch your money, because there's always things you spend you don't need to. I was spending, stocking up and things I didn't really need to do. But it's made a huge difference in my life, because also then there's clutter. And then you worry about what we talked about before. You have these things, you protect these things. You have to worry about them. What if they break? What if the kids touch it? What are they allowed to touch? Do you send the message to your kids that these aren't things for touching? Over here, 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 and here. These are important, but are they important? What really is? And so, it really puts you in a situation, especially with kids, especially when you want to really save, to think about what's really important that you have.
Yeah. You said you were a compulsive spender, but you didn't really realize it. I'm curious if you have ever tracked your expenses, whether if you do that now or if that's been a thing you've thought about.
So I do track my expenses. I mean, it's one way that I simplify, my finances too, because part of this, like I said, dads are busy, I'm busy. If people are busy is, how do you streamline and organize all your finances so it doesn't take time and much of it's automated? So that's part of the way I track everything. But I look sometimes at my Amazon purchase history to see the crazy things that I bought. And
sure.
So, I say there is no way this improved my quality of life. There's no way this did anything for me, and it's gone. And so now, I basically, one way is that I save money is through earning, points on my credit card. I don't do, I'm not in for these, get 20 cards and know which is which. I have three or four cards. I have an Amazon card. Automatically, everything goes to that Amazon card through Amazon, and that's it. I get 5% cash back. So I spend a lot on Amazon.
Amazon isn't as big in New Zealand as it would be over in America, but is that with cashback cards? I've kind of seen them, and I know a lot of people, especially while I'm young, people talk about credit cards. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I spend enough money to actually earn anything from them. But with cashback cards, is there any they sound too good to be true? Like, is there anything missing or?
Yeah, what's missing is if you mess around. So if you don't pay it on time, I pay mine back. I had a debt once, maybe 20 years ago. I think I ran up a bill of $5,000 or $4,000, and I realized, oh, this is bad. And I paid it off right away, and I haven't paid a penny in credit card bill, fees, interest, anything ever since. I set up auto payments, but if you don't, you're up. It's big. They're out to get you, so they make money on every purchase, which is good. So that that's why they'll give it to you if you don't. That's a big way they make their money. But the interest, fees, whatever it is, you try to take advantage of their special payment plans. They will find ways to get you.
Right.
And so I fell prey to one of their payment plan things once. We ended up fixing it without having to pay a penny. but there was some confluence of events and times and dates all happened at the same time, coincidentally, with Chase that was like, oh, you owe $11,000, and I didn't. It was all mixed up. Whatever, we paid it and fixed it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the credit cards. I track my expenses by. I use my credit card for everything. So everything. I've even found a way to pay in America. You can't. I don't know if you can do this in New Zealand. In America, you can't pay your electric bills with your credit card. But if you could, you'd basically get 2% cash back right off the bat on your electric, and that's no work. So I figured out a way to do that. You know, I put everything on there so I can look back and then see what it was really spent, and then I go through them. I do my finances every single month at the beginning of the month, and I see what I spent. You know, the charges to my bank account are the same every month. Those are, you know, tuition and whatever car whatever it goes there. But the credit cards help me track it. And then to figure out how much I saved, I mean, I say I'm going to write this book on personal finance because I know I save money. I felt like I saved 20. I felt like I saved and stretched my income 20%. You know, credit cards. I made $2,000 passive income on credit cards last year. $2,000 American.
That's what you save by using a credit card.
Those are the cashback that I got. Not through any bonuses or anything. Just using my credit cards for daily purchases. Not spending extra. So that's $2,000 right there. I mean, so actually $1,986. So I calculated it. So people said, how much, what could you write a book? I said, I saved the money because I stretch the money so much. It improves our family's life. You know, we don't have to pick up have a second job, we do have to work extra hard because, our lifestyle is unfortunately super expensive religiously.
True.
But I calculated it. I went through category by category, what I spent, where I shopped, and I came and I compared it, to our income, and it was a stretching of our pre-tax income by 34%. So I basically gave my wife and I both a 34% raise for that time period. I think it's about, I would say 25% on average per year. We bought a house, and I was able to, for this one, I was able to do some negotiations with the house. And be my own broker and do certain other things that lower the price, and so that helped there. But I think on an average year, 25% is stretching it.
True. So
that could be help for anybody. If somebody make $10,000, you make $60,000 a year as income as a couple, could $6,000 help you?
Yeah, especially nowadays. I know cost of living is a big thing here in New Zealand at the moment. I assume it's on the rise everywhere. I think probably over the whole world, to be honest. So it's probably the same in America, right? Yeah,
it's intense. It's intense here. I mean, gas is very expensive. We filled up the tank. It was $70.
Yeah.
I think that's like $110.
Something like that. Yeah. I remember I've got a tiny car, and at the peak of it, I was spending about 100 New Zealand dollars, which would be similar. And I was like a real small 1.3 liter, like tiny, like little hatchback, and so it was crazy. Real quick, you said, I know a lot of, probably the first country for people who listen is New Zealand, then second is probably America. So I thought it'd be cool to say, I don't know how personal or confidential it is, but you said you could pay your electricity with a credit card.
Yeah.
How do you do that if you can't do that?
There's a website. The link is on my, or I can, people sign up on my website, I can share it with them also.
Yeah, we'll put the website in the show notes and description.
Yeah, it's a website called Arcadia. And it allows you, not only does it, it apparently uses wind power. I don't know how the back end works or anything. So it's a renewable electricity something, but also it just puts it in there. So my electric bill is about $250 a month. I get 2.5% cash back. So what is that, $4 or something? 4 times 12, that's $48 a year.
Just for doing basically nothing extra.
Literally nothing. I literally do nothing. I set it up once, and I just make $50 a year. I mean, $50 is not a big deal, but
like for no effort.
Stacked,
Right.
So my wife is happy. He uses renewable energy. I'm happy. I get $50. So, and they lowered the bill also a little bit too.
Okay, nice.
As far as they tell me.
Yeah. The reason I asked about tracking expenses real quickly was because I found there's a study, I don't remember anything about it apart from the result, and they found not just money, but anything you track, you'll get better at naturally. So for example, I track my expenses, and I don't put any budget on what I spend, but I notice since I've started tracking it, the amount I spend each month has gone down and down and down. I mean, there's spikes and stuff, but on average, just by tracking what I spend, I've actually ended up spending less money. I haven't put a budget or put a maximum on anything, but simply being aware of where my money's going and knowing at the end of the month I'm going to be tracking, I'm going to have to physically, it sounded like you automated it, but I like to physically put that money into a spreadsheet. So I know if I spend this money now, there's going to be a time in the future where I actually have to put that in and see that my expenses are higher at the end of the month, which is probably like a subconscious like little thing that goes on in my brain. So is that something you've noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought of it that way, but that's totally
Right.
true. I mean, because I've been tracking it for so long. I have a budget document. That's going to be available on the website, soon also. But it's insane. It automates everything, all the categories, and it's all broken down. From food, where you shop, and then everything's automated. Transfers tells you how much of your pre-tax your pre-tax income goes into that, and it changes color based on if you should flag it. And so I have it all tracked in a budget document that I've kind of refined over a decade, and now the newest iteration is the one that Money for Dad subscribers will get.
Right.
But this, I see exactly what it is. So I see, wow, we spend this much on food. We spend this much on, going out. And I looked at the credit cards. I wanted to see how much did we, because for food. So for example, how much do you spend? Nobody really knows how much they spend unless you actually look. We spend as much as we spend a decent amount, but we spend probably less. We spend less than a family, than American families who are larger than us. Right. Because of how we spend, because of how I spend. I save a tremendous amount. But, I went through, and I have to make sure these numbers are valid. So I go through every year, 4 months prior, the credit card bills. Because again, all my credit for everything is on credit card bills. So I can go see what did we spend at each place. And then I put it all in, how much we spent each month for those 4 months. And then that's how much we spent on, and the average of that then becomes my newly budgeted number for groceries. And then I can calculate every other expense accordingly. How much do you know? If you want to buy a home, you want to rent, say a new home. How in the world can you know how much you can pay in rent?
Yeah,
if you don't
true.
know where your money's going. I knew, I spoke to when we first moved out, we were looking to rent a place, and the agents, they say how much you're willing to spend, and they take you to a place and they say, listen, this is a little bit out of your budget. So I said, but we want to show you anyway. I said to them before we did this is what we're spending, not a penny more. If you take us anywhere else, that's a problem, because I'm not breaking the budget. This is a legit budget based on the money that we have to spend, and this won't affect us in a negative way. And so that's it. How do you really know? Because then you're going to put yourself in a situation where because you haven't tracked anything, where it's dangerous. You wanted the money for what? And when you have a family depending on you, it's a lot of stress. You got to make sure you do things properly. And so for tracking it, I do it basically my checking in Excel, and I forecast out. Right now, I forecast out 4 months in advance. So in 4 months from now, I know how much money is going to be in my checking account. That's what I do. I mean, we have we have steady income, so I can and I know when we get paid, the expenses, but I track it out so I can know, so we have extra then to transfer to a savings, or extra in the next 2 weeks to have a savings, or when will we be short because I'm anticipating an expense of say $5,000 for something else. So I know that, and there's a lot of other ways that I save too to stay organized, but like you said, it's really essential to do this, and it's a good point too. Once you track, you're just going to start noticing, and you're going to be more aware.
Yeah, we talked about the dangers of living above your means before, and I guess as someone who's always tracked my expenses, I know how much profit's not the word, but all my income minus all my expenses, I know exactly how much money I have left over at the end of every month. So it's easy for me to be like, cool, this is what I can afford if I still want to be able to save a certain amount or whatever. But I guess probably the majority of people don't actually know what their means actually is, or what it is, you know what I mean? So they don't actually know what they can afford unless they go to like a mortgage broker or whatever, or a financial advisor. When in reality, I just check my bank statements and put it into Excel as well, and that's all it is to it. It's not actually that difficult. you said you had some philosophies around money.
Yeah.
Even if they're real generic or anything, did you want to talk to some of those?
Yeah. I actually have there's maybe 11 philosophies I have on spending money. Those are actually, I mean, they're in the book. And then I realized I wrote the book about these topics, and I was like, there's 11 nice things here. So I took them, I put them into it's a PD, it's a download on my website. It's
Right.
11 money spending, tips guaranteed to change your life.
Is that
And
a
so
free PDF?
it's free. Yeah, it's
Okay.
free. I want everybody to be able to have that, because they really do change your life. And so the most important one was actually, I told you my grandmother sent me an article. And the article was, think about, was about how long did it take you to earn that money? So, and I think that's probably the most important tip.
Right.
A person,
Yeah.
and I think about that. It's pretty much integrated into my thoughts right now. I mean, I love personal finance and I love saving money. So for me, it's like, it's not stressful to think about these type of things. But so, I mean, a person who makes, say, $50,000, how much do you make per hour? That's a
Right.
salary, right?
Yeah.
But you could still break down that per hour. You work, say, 40 hours a week. That ends up being, 24, let's say $25 an hour for simplicity, right? So how long did it take you to, you want to buy, say, a fancy watch, say $70, $75 on a watch. It's not bad, right? That took you 3 hours at work,
Right.
3 hours to make, right? At your desk, at a machine, at the factory, mowing lawns, whatever it is. If you make whatever it is, I mean, if you do say headphones, for $250, you want to buy fancy headphones, right? That's 10 hours. That's more than a day at work. Is that worth it?
Yeah, exactly.
Say, I put some numbers together. I was thinking about these things. $1,000 bike. That's 40 hours. That's a full week at your work. Or if you want to spend, say, $5,000, you want to get a new car, and they sell you on the leather seats and on the better stereo system and on nicer tires and the skylight, and that's, say, $5,000, right? That's 200 hours. That's 25 days.
Yeah.
25 days is about the amount of is more than the number of days you work in probably a month.
Yeah.
So you spent a month. You spent a 12th of your whole year to buy that.
Yeah.
And what could you use that for? For you, I mean, you could whatever you want. For me, that's, I could be like, oh, you know what? Let's have super fancy kids' birthday parties. Like let's take the kids. Let's fly this. With the kids. Let's buy. Take them out to eat, or let's whatever we want to do. Or that's like one. That's a few tuition payments. That pays tuition for 2 months.
Right. Exactly.
So, and it's huge. It's huge to think about everything and how long it took you to earn it, and was it worth it? Will really change everything. Impulse items, $10. Then you buy $10, $20. $1,000, anything. You'd have to have that painting. The kids are going to destroy it anyway. So now you pay the insurance. If the insurance is $25 a year, so that's an hour a year. That's not a big deal. But you have an hour a year plus the 50 hours that it took you to pay for the painting, and then it all stacks.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting, because I think I noticed that, especially, it's not as bad now, but when my first job was McDonald's, which is minimum wage. Here, that's in New Zealand. When I started, it was about 15 something. Now, when I left, it was about $20. There's different currencies though, so that's not super. Yeah. Don't read into that too much. It's good, but it's not. It's minimum wage. But yeah, whenever. Like as you said, even if you're just getting like an impulse buy, something that's $10, like I had to flip burgers for half an hour, you know what I mean, just to get this stupid little $10 thing. Because in my head, especially when you start to get some savings, like when you've been working for a couple months, whatever, you might have a couple thousand in savings. You see something with $10, and I notice this in a lot of people when they just start working for the first time, they'll have a few thousand in savings. They're starting to get up there, and then they see something for $10, like whatever, it's $10, all good. But then if you have like a really bad job that you don't like, that's half an hour of doing that job and just being miserable just to get the stupid little thing. But like but then like you said with bigger things, if I want to get a PlayStation for $500, you know what, that's 20 50 100 What did I say? That's a lot of hours. You know what I mean?
It
So
is.
just doing something you
Yeah.
don't enjoy.
Yeah. Even more. So, I mean, it's really not even. So you make $25 an hour, and then you want to spend $100. That's not 4 hours at work because, I don't know what taxes are like there. But so you say you take out 30% in taxes, you have to work 30% more. So if it takes you 10 hours, now you have to work 13 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So to get that, to pay for that, because that's pre-tax. Post-tax is a whole
Yeah,
different
true.
ballgame.
Yeah. Can I vent to you about something that I've noticed in America real quick? Super off
Yeah.
topic. But I don't know how you feel about this, but what I notice in America is when you go shopping, they don't include the tax in the prices and some stuff, not all the places. But there'll be, and you can tell because you go to a place and they have, for example, something will be like $13.63, something real specific. And then when you
Yep.
add tax, it's probably like $15 or something. I don't know. But is that like normal in America?
Everything is written. So for me, I wouldn't even think. I would say, well, everyone knows tax. Tax is different in different states. Tax sometimes there's in one state there's a no tax day. I think New Hampshire
Really?
they have a no tax day. So then people
What the?
drive up from all around the country to go there for no tax because tax can be expensive, 10% or whatever it is in different states. Yeah, I mean it's written in the regular price, and then you just know, on top of that you're going to pay extra.
And as an
Everything.
American, just curious, do you find that annoying? Was that just that's just what life is?
Um, when the taxes are a lot, then you think about it. It wouldn't be nice not to have to pay them, but also, I mean, the government they theoretically provide the services of value for that. The police force, but you're
Oh
saying
yeah,
you're basically like hidden. You're
yeah.
basically like
I'm not against
yeah,
tax. I just thought it was annoying that they don't put tax in the prices. So
yeah.
the
So for
price
me,
they
I would.
advertise isn't actually the price you pay.
Yeah, everything here is about selling the services. So if you were to
Yeah,
add if one place were to add that on, you would think,
look worse.
oh, I got to go somewhere else because
Yeah,
you wouldn't even know, and then you get to blame the government for it.
right.
So
Yeah, because here we have a blanket 15% sales tax on everything. Anything you buy has a 15% sales tax on it. But just everywhere has it in the price. So everywhere, what the price you see on the advertisement is what you pay, and then the business on the back end of the tax here, whatever, will pay 15% of their revenue to the government, and then so the user, the what's the word, consumer doesn't actually see anything to the price. They'll see on the receipt, be like 15%, this much money will go to the government, but we don't add anything on top of the price, which is all the stuff I love in America. That was the one thing that like triggered me a little bit. I remember there was one time where I was at Burger King or something random, and the total was like $9.80 something. So I get like a $10 note out, and then they're like, "Oh, that's $13." I'm like, "What the?" Now I have to go back into my wallet and find more money. I don't know. It's just a culture, probably not a culture
yeah,
shock, but something like that. I'm like, "What? That's weird."
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's why I love traveling. I mean, not to pay
Yeah.
more in taxes, but I used to travel a lot around the world, and so I love culture shock. It's something that you, you just see people, different walks of life, different
Right.
views, different perspectives, or just acting differently. Certain people, they it's it's interesting to hear people when they come here, about that. And I've thought about what you said before in New York. It's a big rush. I would love to get out of that.
Mm.
Um, when I lived in San Diego, it was different. I did
Right.
work for a federal government agency, so everything's calmer and a thing like that, especially California and what they were doing. But yeah, it's got a hustle. It's a hustle society.
Yeah.
Not a
If
fan of
you,
it.
oh yeah, no, that's fair. I think, yeah, I definitely enjoyed going to America, but living there would be different. Not that I'm against it. It's just different culture.
Yeah.
If you had one bit of advice for, like, if you could say one thing that would give the biggest impact to someone's savings, or if that's stretching money, whatever it is you want to talk about, personal finances, if you could give the one thing that's going to make the most difference to someone's financial position today, what do you think that would be?
I would think that one point, which is it how long did it take you to earn that, and is it worth it? Is it something
Right.
you need? Is it something you want? And what could you do with that money that would be
Yeah,
better for
true.
you and your family? I think people also should know that, and it's the reason I started this business, which is I want people to know, dads, that they might feel trapped, but they're not. There are ways to stretch it to stretch your money without, it's not cheap, to not being cheap, but dads should know that they're not trapped.
Right.
There's a way to improve their lives, to spend more time with their families, to stress less about money, stretch their money in ways that are totally doable. And it's a game changer.
Right.
And that's what everything is about. If you could live the life you want, you just have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, great. If I have one more question before we go to rapid fire. What was it? Oh yeah. So we've talked a little bit about automation already. Do you have any easy, practical automation tips you can give someone who wants to, whether it's tracking their expenses or anything to do with personal finances? Do you have any quick little automation hacks to make it easier for people that are busy, especially dads, but anyone who's busy and they want an easy way to track their finances better?
Well, a hack. I think one thing was kind of what I mentioned before, and it makes you think on a few different levels, which is kind of the Amazon hack. When you set up automatic deliveries of things, then you use your Amazon credit card to pay for it, and then you automatically have your credit card paid. So what happens is,
True.
You get everything you need automatically delivered on a schedule that you want. So you have to think about, how much do I really need this? How much do I really use? I don't want to get extra. So you figure out how often you need to have it delivered. Then it's delivered to your doorstep and you never have to worry about it.
Right.
So that's a full-on game changer, because imagine, for me, it happens with, say, baby wipes, right? Baby wipes. Imagine being a dad at 3 a.m, getting woken up by your kids and you have to change a diaper, and you don't have wipes. That has never happened to me after I started doing this, because they're delivered to my doorstep every month. And so because I use Amazon service, I set it up and I have a few other items being sent, I get 25% off on wipes that are automatically delivered to me. So I get 25% off on the already cheap Amazon wipes that are great. Then I use my Amazon credit card for that purchase. So it gives me 5% cash back. And then all these purchases are tracked to my Amazon account so I can see exactly what I'm spending. And then it goes to the credit card, and the credit card bill is pulled right from my bank account. So I don't have to worry about fees. I don't have to worry about penalties or interest or anything like that. So it's kind of like a little bubble where, I think I made $500 or $400 in that period where I analyzed all the figures just on this. So by automating everything, I saved $150 on wipes alone during that period, I think. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking about how much.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know what you earn, but if you think about how many hours that would have taken you to make that money, that's just money or time you got back as well.
Right. I mean, that's true. I actually never thought about that specific one. If I save, $400, that's $400 I didn't have to earn. How long at my desk that I have to spend to save that? And so it all comes together, stacking these things, and then I get that time back. I don't have to go to Target. I don't have to go to the grocery store to buy wipes. If it's in the middle of the night, I don't have to get up and go bother a neighbor or go drive somewhere. They're already there. I don't have to spend the time paying these credit cards and then going. If I don't want to do my finances 1 month, I could do that because everything's automated. I could do it for 2 months, assuming I forecasted everything properly and I've never really had a problem. Then it's all automated. It's all there. All the credit card bills are paid. Everything. Setting up auto payments is a huge one too. With your credit cards and all your bills, because then you don't have to worry that anything's going to be paid. Right. You could go on vacation, you could get sick for a couple weeks, you could just not do it. And it's all because you know what you spend and because you keep it all, it's all paid for properly and you have the money in there, then it's all good. It's everything is smooth. And that's really what a big part of it. You get it gives me, no matter what, even if it didn't save me money, all these things give me time back.
Right. That's why money is important.
Yeah. Doing my finances used to take me, I don't know, 3-4 hours a night for 3-4 hours when I would go and sit.
Right.
Now, I mean, it takes me half an hour, an hour if I
Right.
want to, an hour if I want to be fancy. I spend on everything in my entire book,
Mm.
including doing my finances monthly, which you have to do. Everyone has to
Mm.
do,
Yeah.
which means balancing the checkbook. I compare my bank account to my online checkbook. Every single charge I reconcile to make sure it's there.
Mm.
Sometimes I have to do some research. So including that and all these money saving methods throughout the entire book, I spend about, I would say, um, an hour and a half a month on my finances.
Mm.
I
Sure.
think I think I took it. I think it ended up being 25 minutes a week, whatever it ended up that I actually spend on finances just to stretch my income by 34%.
Yeah, but the amount of money that would have saved you is 100% worth it though, with the
Yeah,
time you
and
spend.
it's incredible, and even just not having to spend all that time. When tax time comes, my accountant, this guy
True.
loves me because I send him a spreadsheet with everything broken down. He doesn't have to do anything except input things, and I mean, he has a
Yeah.
lot of fancy work to do that I couldn't do and I don't understand, but I
Yeah.
don't send him a million things to analyze because I've already analyzed it. I keep track of
Yeah.
everything as the year goes by,
Yeah.
different email folders and different spreadsheets and saving things here and there. It's little steps throughout the way, not just, it's tax time. Let's get everything done now. You know,
Mm. Yeah.
it makes a big difference.
You talked about doing your groceries online, which is definitely becoming a thing. Basically, everyone's doing these days. I've heard people say that that's actually a really good way of saving money because they often, when they go to the grocery shop, especially if you go when you're hungry, it's easy to impulse buy, like, oh, we'll get some of those, get some of that. But especially with what you said about subscriptions as well, is if you're doing it at home when you're on like a good mindset, you can just sit and forget to get stuff that you actually only need and not stuff like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. Let me just chuck this in the cart as well. So I think that's
Yeah,
actually probably a good way. I don't know because I
yeah,
still live at
yeah.
home, but have you noticed that?
So we did a little bit of grocery shopping online. It's never been part of our lives. I
Oh,
tried to
okay.
use Amazon, but they always run out of everything.
Oh, true.
But it's great that they can get you the things so fast. So I actually have the hack that I follow for
Mm,
grocery for shopping lists that's game changing. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But
true.
I actually love grocery shopping. It's my favorite thing to do.
Really?
So no one's going to take that away from me, even if it's going to cost me a bit more money. I don't know. I love it. I've always loved it. I have friends who hate it.
Do you
I have
just
friends who love
enjoy,
it.
like, what about it do you enjoy?
My wife won't go grocery shopping with me. She just won't do it. She can't stand it. It's too. I drive her crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like looking at the different items. I memorize all the prices. I find out what's on sale, what's in bulk, what's a new product, what ingredients everything has,
Mm.
how things are displayed. I want to look at the nutritional information on everything. I don't know. I love it. It's just
Right.
walking around, taking my time, leaning on the cart, putting things in there, taking things out. It's like little minor. I love it. So
Yeah.
it's not going to take that away from me. I still do buy some things online, um,
Mm.
but if I could just grocery shop all day, that would be amazing. But
I
the
can't
hack
stand it, to be honest.
the hack what you're saying the
Yeah.
hack for this, like, you go and then you just put things in your carriage, um,
Mm.
is when you go to the grocery store,
Mm.
what's a need versus a want, and
Right.
the key is when did you make that grocery list, right? You made that grocery
Mm.
list before you went to the grocery store,
Yeah.
right? So it's what at that time you think you needed throughout the week, and you think you're
Mm.
going to need, or at least what you think you're going to need next week, right?
Right.
And so you don't know exactly what you need. My wife does the cooking, so she tells me, what she needs. But I keep a running list going each week on the fridge. And so if there
Oh,
is a
yeah.
time during the week that there's something that I needed, I write it on that list.
True.
So when I go to the grocery store, I have her list of what she tells me we need for her to prepare the foods, and then I have that
Mm.
list. And
Mm.
that means that when I go to the grocery store and there's something on that list that says, "Oh, I need this," there's something that I see and I say, I need that. That's delicious, and I definitely needed
Mm.
it this week. I look at my
Right.
shopping list that I made, and if it's not on the list that I made of things I needed that I found during the week, it means I legitimately did not need it. It's not
Right.
if it's not on the list of something that of if it wasn't something I actually needed during the week, it's not something that I need. So I
Mm.
can't then say, "Oh, this is something I need," because it wasn't something that I needed.
Right.
So it makes sure, and if you can stick to that list, then that's it. You got it. You got a list that of all the things you actually need, and then you don't spend more. So
Right. And so just to clarify, the hack is doing the list as you go through the week and not doing
yeah, you
it when you
keep
go
something on your
shopping.
fridge, keep a pen
Right.
right there, the list right there going, and
It's,
did you need pickles during the week? Because if you didn't, then you probably, if that it's not on that list, there wasn't a time during the week you were craving pickles, except when you're in the grocery store because you're hungry, and now you're craving pickles.
right. And
And
then I guess when you run out of something, you just add it to the list then. Or if you
yeah,
needed something.
yeah, if I actually think about it, right. So I'm not that advanced when I get to there. It's only if it's something that I really need and I remember to do this. I haven't been great about it lately,
Yeah.
but it's if when you run out of something, if you're going to need it,
Just write it down straight
and
away.
yeah, and everything gets always more complicated with kids, because now it's my wife wants to make for them what she wants to make for me, whatever crazy health diet that I'm on, you know, whatever foods I'm avoiding. And gluten right now it's from this nutritionist. I'm avoiding gluten, dairy, soy, and corn, and other
Oh,
lots of things. So my
man.
diet's crazy.
That's so tough.
So yeah, I've actually been on tougher ones for health reasons in the past. So
Oh,
this
okay.
one's easy for me.
Ah,
Um,
okay. That'd be hard for me,
so
to be honest.
yeah, I mean, I think anything is hard until you do it, and then everything is
True.
easier after that.
Yeah,
I've
no,
been on.
that actually makes sense.
Yeah, once you do something, um, it'll never be hard to do that one again. Well, you'll never at least you'll never fear doing it again, but it'll make that and anything easier or
Mm,
anything less easier to do in the future.
yeah.
So for me, like it's so we have to go. We go to the stores and then we just But ideally, I would just go to 7 grocery stores and just buy all the different things. My
Uh,
daughter likes it. My daughter
I've
likes it with me.
I've agreed with you about everything about personal finance, and then you said that, and I'm like, oh, nah, that's we are on two separate pages about grocery shopping, but that's all good.
If I could get
Um,
paid $100,000 to just go to the grocery stores as someone's
that's what
personal
you would do.
shopper for groceries, with very low expectations, because that would be very slow. Because I like that, then that would be my ideal job.
Well, the funny thing is, now that you say that, my girlfriend's job's actually, we like all our stores around here do online shopping, so we just put through our order at home, and then someone at Countdown or whatever the grocery shop's called, they actually go around. So my girlfriend, her job at the moment is actually just doing people's grocery shop for them, putting them in bags.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so that sounds like something you would actually enjoy, which I would not. But
I would if we could pay
that's
the
funny.
bills. I would totally do it.
True. Yeah. I'm aware of time, but one thing that I've written down that I just want to ask really quickly. You said you had 4 credit cards. One's Amazon. Are the other ones just like bank account ones or?
They're actually so they're 4 credit cards. They're not debit cards. I have one debit card because my bank sends it to me so I can take money out from the ATM. But I never, ever,
Right.
ever use that anywhere because if money is, if I use it in an ATM and there's a skimmer on that ATM, or if I use it somewhere and I take it out, someone takes a picture, or if it's I drop it and lose it, and then someone takes money from a bank account, I lose that money, and it's on me to prove that that it wasn't me who made that purchase, and so I
Right.
lose that money. It happened once. Someone stole money from my bank account at an ATM in New York City. I was living in Brooklyn. It happened in Manhattan when I was living in Brooklyn. It wasn't me, whatever it was. And so it
Yeah.
took me forever to get that money back from Citibank. It was
True.
awful. They didn't understand. They didn't understand my case about what was going on and this and that. And I had to really fight for that $500. And at that point, I don't think I was working. My wife was in school. $500 is a lot of money. So if
Right.
you lose that, if it's a credit card though, um, you just tell the credit card it wasn't you, and that money is no longer. You have nothing to worry about. So
Oh,
yeah, the
true.
credit cards I have credit cards. I keep it simple, so they're all the same company. I'm happy with the company. I am pretty happy. I think ultimately I'll switch, but it's kind of hard to switch when all my charges go there. Like my life is
Yeah.
integrated in these. And I
Yeah.
have a
True.
little system where I transfer points from one to the other. So I basically get, not the Amazon, besides the Amazon one, I get 2.25% cash back on everything that I
And
spend.
is it actually just that's straight cash back, or is that?
So basically, it becomes cash back because I use it the way I use it.
Okay. And
So
I've
it's
seen you.
not it's a travel credit card, but I get reimbursed for
Right.
expenses, and so then if I use it for certain ways, I get that back. It used to be just cash. The company just switched though,
Oh,
so
right.
now it's you have to use it as a reimbursement. You can use it cash for travel. So we use it
Right.
enough for travel. We go anywhere with 3 kids. It works, and
So
I get
use that money
reimbursed.
up.
So yeah, it's pretty simple. There's websites where you have all these different cards and points and transfer here and there, and you could do that. But I like to have one site. I log in, all my credit cards are right there. I can
Mm.
see, even the Amazon one is in the same company, and so it makes it very, because I don't have time. You don't have time for this. Maybe I could make some more money if I integrated it really into my. But also, like when you're married, how crazy can you drive your spouse? I know there's 2 credit cards that she has
Yeah.
that are associated, with us, and so I go to her purse, and if I want her to use a particular one for 3 months because some of the categories are rotating, then I
Mm.
just put that one in the front, and I say just use the one I put in front, and we're done. I don't
Right.
label the cards if they need, and so then if she goes grocery shopping, that's say she'll get from that, and it'll end up being 7.5% cash back for 3 months and all the groceries that she purchased,
True.
and she doesn't have to worry about it. I don't have to drive her crazy. I don't have to drive myself crazy.
Yeah.
Keeps it simple.
Yeah. I. Well, again, speaking aware of time, are you happy to do some real quickly, real
Sure,
quickly do some rapid fire questions? Number
sure.
one, what is your favorite book that you've read?
Favorite book? I like Harry Potter. So that's seven
Oh,
books. I
are
like
they
to
better?
get
Are they better than the
engrossed in
movies?
that. I love the movies. Movies are great. Books are even better. But there's I like a lot of business books also.
Yeah, nice.
Leadership books. There's a book called
Yeah.
Mindset, which talks about being a learning mindset, which is how you can grow and always make sure you're help to be successful in pretty much every way.
Mm. What's your favorite podcast? Do you listen to podcasts? This probably should be my first
I
question.
don't listen to that many podcasts. But I do listen to a couple. There's a man named Shane Sams. He's a Shane Sams podcast. He runs a
Mm.
membership community, and about membership communities, and then he has his own separate podcast where yeah, it's great. It's very smart. It's clever.
True.
So where he talks to entrepreneurs and other people. People have changed his life. People have great stories, inspiration, and it's powerful. He's
Mm.
I think life you would appreciate how he's all about time and getting that time back. What's important is you get to choose how you
Right.
spend your time, and so that's
Mm.
why I listen to the guy. So I listen. Anything that guy says is amazing because he
Yeah.
has
No.
such a great perspective.
Yeah. No. That definitely sounds interesting. If you could have one mentor, dead or alive, no restrictions, who would that be in your life?
Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt.
True.
Guy is
Why? Can I ask why?
the guy is amazing. The guy is a powerhouse of energy. People,
Mm.
he he built himself up from he was a sickly child to the photos that you see, as like a strapping huge guy, barrel chested man. He was, they never thought he would amount to anything or do anything, be a leader, anything. And he inspired people with his words, with his actions. He stuck to his guns.
Mm.
People would leave his office, other politicians in different parties, and say, "I don't agree with the thing that man said, but I love him." So
True.
he was great. I think he was special. I mean, I've read there's one of the biographies on him. I'm in the middle of another one. His autobiography, which is crazy because he clearly comes across as he's so much passion.
Mm.
There's 3 pages once where he just says he loves animals. He was basically like a recognized zoologist at the age of like 8, contributing to journals.
True.
And so his you read the biography, the autobiographies. The autobiography, he says, goes on for 3 pages about the birds that he saw. He was stands
Wow.
under a tree, just listens to the birds, and so he says, "I heard these 18 birds today." Like these are horrible 3 pages. And then
Right.
you read it, the biography, and it's like the Secret Service was so confused because they would just see him standing under trees looking up, and you're like, that's what he was
True.
doing. So he has so much. He was like a child. People would call him because he had the passion, and he was so would focus on these things. He had the love of just little things, big things, wanting to help people. He was a special guy.
Okay, true, interesting. We've talked about valuing your time and everything, and you just give me an hour of your time. So why don't you tell us about Money for Dads, what it's all about, and where people can find out more about you?
No, thanks. So Money for Dads it's a website, soon to be a community of dads with resources and content and help and advice and live Q&A sessions with me, where dads can go and learn how to stretch their income in great ways, easy ways to improve their lives, to stretch the money, stress less about money, spend more time with their family, and be able to focus on what's important. And on that website now, it's at www.moneyfordads.com. There is
We'll put the link
in. Yeah, thank you. There's a free download, completely free. The 11 money spending tips guaranteed to change your life. And it will, because I wrote the word guaranteed in there. And they're all game changing. I've implemented them into my life. I mean, nothing in my book that's forthcoming. If you sign up, you'll also get updates about my book, which is done. I wrote the first. It just needs to be edited and designed, and then it's going to be available. Nothing I advocate for is, or let me say, every single thing that I advocate for, or I talk about, is something that I've done myself and that's worked myself. There's not a thing in that book. There's not a piece of advice that I didn't do myself. There's nothing in there that's a waste of time where you spend 20 hours trying to save $5 a year. They're all pretty much game changers, and they stack and they get easier. And so, moneyfordads.com is a place for dads to go so they can realize not only that they're not trapped, but a way out, to give them a way out, and to let them live the lives they want with their families, and not have to pick up second jobs or extra shifts, and do the best, just like I'm trying to do, to make sure that we don't have to do that, ultimately. And it's a learning experience and a way to get all these resources.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I'll definitely leave links, and then I'll check it out myself, because I kind of want to see it, to be honest. I haven't actually checked it. I want to download that myself. But I just want to thank you for jumping on, obviously taking an hour out of your day, or your night, apparently. I just want to honor you for what you're doing, the difference you're trying to make in people's lives. I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it will be changing people's lives, and what has been, and it will be in the future as well. I think what you're doing is amazing. I think understanding your finances is an important topic for people. Money isn't everything, but it can change people's lives, going from nothing to just getting started with tracking their money, and it can relieve stress, and it can change people's households. And the work you're doing, I believe, is going to be doing that for households all around the world, basically, especially with the digital side of it. So I just want to honor you what you're doing. I think it's amazing, and just say thank you for jumping on this podcast and sharing this knowledge with us.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.